have everything captured. I'm just going to wait till it tells me it's recording, or maybe it is. Okay, so let's get started. As I said, we're going to talk about the Customer Experience Management Big Data Analytics and Metrics project. The focus of this call is the fact that we collaborate to create our best practices and standards, and that is all done with our members. Our members come in, they're interested in a topic. For example, I heard Omnichannel on the call, I heard various customer centricity topics in the introductions. Members come in and we put groups of people together to work together to tackle the bigger problems, the problems that are bigger than any one company or any one department in a company. And we come out with best practices that we then share across the whole industry as a result of that collaborative work. So these are some of the friendly faces that are the leaders in our collaboration program. You can see myself and Snigdha on here. Ailish, I should add you to this as part of our team. But anyway, you see some of the friendly faces in the companies who are the leaders in our projects. You'll see their names sprinkled throughout this presentation just so you can know who's working on what. But the main point is our members come, work together, and that's what this call is all about. So I will quickly introduce you to TM Forum's Customer Centricity Program. We'll talk about the 3 project areas. We'll talk about what it means to get involved and how you get involved as well. I have a lot of slides, so I'll warn you I'm going to go very fast, and that's why you'll have all the slides, so don't worry about the details on any one slide. We have a lot going on, and I don't want to miss any of the topics that we're working on, so I'd rather go fast and have a lot of information than miss anything. So I usually like to start out talking about our best practices to say that we're really in the business of developing a common language. So we want to give the industry, whether it's service providers talking to their suppliers, partners talking to each other, companies talking to companies outside of the communications industry, as is increasingly happening, we want to give companies a way to talk about being customer-centric, a way to talk about using analytics, a way to talk about measuring things with metrics. So as we go through these things, if you keep that common language concept in your mind, it's really a thread that weaves through everything that we do. And as I said, we're really all about collaboration, bringing TM Forum members together. Everybody's got thoughts and ideas of how things should work, or they've got challenges. I'm not sure how I'll tackle this challenge. TM Forum is all about bringing people together to drive to solutions through crowd thinking. So the phrase I like to use, I've got here on the left, we've got a unique virtual and physical meeting place for curious minds to share ideas and define solutions. And what comes out of that? Well, we take your real-world challenges, we create common languages, as I said, and we create a library of guides, best practices, processes, architectures, models, etc., to really tackle and address those challenges. So if you go to our website, which I know most of you have since you're on this call, or all of you have since you're on this call, and you go to our best practices and standards area, we've got a whole library of customer centricity documents that already exist. And what we're doing is taking that foundation, that really strong foundation that we've got, and really moving on to tackle what I've got here as the big hard challenges together as we go forward into the open digital era with ecosystems and partnerships, as we go into the smart X world of smart cities and smart cars and smart everything. And as we move into the world of virtualization, where you're not managing boxes anymore, you're managing virtual everything, virtual functions. And how does that change the customer experience? How should analytics be used in that environment? What things should be measured in that environment? So we're really kind of taking this very strong foundation that we have right now and bringing people together to really tackle this next era of challenges. So that's what this is all about. In TM Forum, our collaboration process brings people together into our collaboration environment, and we provide facilitation. Snigdha does the vast majority of the facilitation for these projects that we'll be talking about today. And we drive to consensus so that we can deliver something that will be very useful for the industry. And then we also bring this thinking of ease of use. So if we create a good idea, how do we make sure that we get it out there so that people can use it? Because good ideas or best practices or standards are only useful if people can find them and use them all together. And that's where Ailish comes in, helping us with the communications and the ease of use aspect of things. And how do we do this? Well, we've got online communities, we've got conference calls, we've got what we call action days and action weeks where we meet together in person for longer periods or shorter periods. And what we ask for is simply a commitment level that works for you and your company. We don't ask for, any particular sign up, we need you 1 day a week or anything like that whatsoever. We have some people who drop in and out and just join calls when they can, or maybe add comments to things online that they see that are interesting to them. We have lots of other people who, they get very engaged with our projects. They join a call or two every week. They work for a couple of hours on things every week and provide input and feedback into our best practices as we're developing them. And they really get involved as a member of the TM Forum community and really become part of our customer centricity program and project working groups that all get to know each other and get to really bring very deep thoughts and concepts together through really getting to know each other and work together. But key point here, right, lots of different kinds of collaboration, and the commitment is at a level that works for you and for your company. Okay. So we have two kinds of projects. We have our collaboration projects that I've been focusing on where we create the best practices and standards. We also have a set of projects called Catalyst projects that are short-term proof of concept demos. Today I'm going to focus on the collaboration projects, but I want to bring up the Catalyst projects because we are right now in the process of defining our next round of these short-term proof of concepts, and we need a lot of things to make that go well. We need challenges defined by service providers. We need ideas from all of our members about, what are areas that a short-term proof of concept would really drive some rapid advancement in. And we are going to have another call to talk about these catalysts, a call similar to this where we bring people together and talk about catalysts. I think it's is it next week, Ailish, when we're having that call? Do you remember? So I just want you to know that on this one, we'll talk about creating the best practices and standards, and look for another one if you're interested in this demo concept that I believe it's next week for that call. Okay. So now let's jump into these three areas: customer experience management, big data analytics, and metrics. This is where I'm going to start going really fast through the slides because we have so many topics to talk about. Okay. And as I said, a lot of times the place we start with our collaboration programs is somebody has a challenge. A service provider has a challenge, or maybe a systems integrator comes and says, I've been working with lots of my clients and I'm seeing a common area of challenges that they're all facing like this. So somebody brings a challenge into TM Forum. These are just examples of ideas that might come in, something as broad as I know I should be using data analytics more broadly to get value out of my data. How do I do it better, faster, or cheaper? Or now as we're getting into some specific smart X areas, it might be something really specific like I want to be more citizen-centric in my smart city. So this is how we start with understanding what the challenges are, and then we drive to get to the best practices and standards through our collaboration program. Now, what we don't want to do is have anybody's secrets, right? Your differentiators appear in this triangle of needs as borrowed from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We don't want to work in the areas that are your differentiators or are your secrets. I always tell members, if you're about to tell me a secret in our collaboration program, I don't want it. Keep it to yourself. What we do want to collaborate on are the common challenges. So areas where there's infrastructure or platforms that could be common, areas where there's privacy or security that could be common, and areas where I focus my time on areas of customer and data centricity that could and should be common. And we've already got this big library of best practices and standards that is proving out this concept that we are able to put together some great and useful solutions to address these common challenges through our collaboration programs. And let's just look at the timing. So right now we are very close to delivering what we would call Framework 16. It'll come out in a couple of weeks. That was all developed through this collaborative program, like I said. We are now starting to work on Framework 16.5, and we're just getting started on that, so it's very good timing for everybody on this call. If you're interested, you can come in on the very beginning of a cycle. It doesn't matter if you come in on the beginning of a cycle, but it's always a nice way to get started. We always take new members to projects anytime. And our next face-to-face activity is July 11th through 15th in Vancouver, where we will meet for a week and work on both kinds of projects, the best practices and standards projects and the Catalyst projects. Okay, so now we're going to get into customer experience management. So what do we have today? This is a snapshot of our existing documents. This is what we're building on. So we've got a guidebook, we've got a return on investment calculator, a maturity model for customer experience management at a high level. We've got a lifecycle model and 360-degree view of the customer. We've got a lot of metrics that are focused on customer experience. We've got an Omnichannel guidebook, which also includes another maturity model for Omnichannel, and then we've got a library of use cases. So as I said, we've got a lot of assets that exist already, and this is what we're building on. So let me go quickly. Most of what I have in this presentation is related to what we're doing in the Framework 16 release that's coming out in June, because we're just working to define the 16.5, but it's quite safe to say that it will continue to build in the same directions. And next time we have one of these calls, we'll be able to talk about 16.5 in a lot more detail. So the use cases at the bottom, as I said, we've got a library of use cases. We've got a number of customer experience management use cases. Some of them are very analytics focused. Some of them are more process oriented, but it's a great common language library, like I said, to use that term, to talk in your company about how do we improve customer experience. So essentially, this is a list of ways you can improve customer experience in your company. And we continue to build this library. We had a great contribution this past time from one of our members who wrote down a large library of customer experience use cases. So you'll see this go up in about a couple of weeks. So again, this concept is resonating where people are capturing their ideas for these use cases, and it's a bit of a crowdsourcing model where if everybody contributes a couple of use cases, then we build up this bigger and bigger list. Okay, as I warned you guys, I'm going to go fast. So what are we working on in this kind of overarching area? We've talked about use cases. We have this guidebook. We're doing an updated and enhanced version of this guidebook to get us up to 2016 standards, because it was written in 2013, I believe. So we're doing an updated enhancement on that. And for the first time, we're creating something called an implementation guide, because we've got all these pieces for how you become customer-centric. We want to put something together on how you use them working with each other. So that's what the implementation guide is. And again, that will be published in June. And it's a first pass. We will very much be working on that as we go into the rest of the year. So if you're interested in kind of the big picture, that's something that you could work on. We have something very interesting called an ROI Calculator. This is about figuring out if your customer experience management projects are providing a good return on investment. And the key thing for this is we look at it in terms of measurement of a particular metric. So if you want to improve the performance in a particular area and you measure it with a particular metric, what's the return on investment of that particular project or program? So we've got 4 example use cases in this return on investment calculator. For example, if you want to reduce your customer's propensity to call, you would look at investing money to maybe improve your self-service or fix some of the problems that customers call in about, and then you would look at how much you would save by reducing your customers calling in, and look at the return on investment of spending that money to improve that experience and reduce the customers calling in. So we will continue to build this. We haven't had a lot of inputs on this in the last few months, but I know there's definitely some interest in it, so we'd like to get this going again in the second half of the year. Metrics. So we have, in TM Forum, we have a giant metrics program, and I'll go into that a little bit later in the presentation. A subset of that metrics program is customer experience metrics, and we have a very large document of 572 metrics mapped to our lifecycle model, which I'll get to the lifecycle model in a minute. And we are always building that customer experience metrics library. We've got some interest in doing some omnichannel metrics. And so if metrics for customer experience are something you're interested in, if you haven't looked at this document, please take a look. It's in the GB 962 series in our library. And also come and join our metrics project and work on some of these customer experience areas. Okay, omnichannel. We have got a lot of things going on in omnichannel. We've got our introductory guide, which is now becoming a full-fledged guidebook. It really outlines the foundations of omnichannel, and then it adds a maturity model and a set of requirements for omnichannel. So again, this is very strong common language stuff in the requirements. It's basically asking, you know, what do I need to ask my suppliers to provide to ensure that they're meeting my omnichannel needs if you're a service provider. So this is a fairly new area. We are building this out. So if you're a service provider or anybody that's seeing RFPs and has inputs on how to improve procurement of omnichannel solutions, that this would be a project that would be very interesting to you, and we'd love to have your input. We are continuing to work on our maturity model. We had a lot of demonstration projects around omnichannel this past time, and so we're going to get some new metrics contributed. We're going to get some use cases contributed. So there's just a very lot going on in the omnichannel area right now, and I know at least a couple of you mentioned that. We have got our experience lifecycle model. This is just gotten approved as the latest version of our lifecycle model and will be published in June. And you know, this is, as I'm sure all of you know, a useful tool for doing journey mapping, but we're also really trying to expand the use of analytics in a journey mapping or 360 view of the customer environment. So we're really focusing on new concepts like experience scores and customer sentiment, and how you bring all these pieces together with analytics to create a 360-degree view of the customer. We're also working on an interesting concept called experience integrator, and that's about, you know, as you get into complex ecosystems, how do you look at the end-to-end customer experience across multiple partners, and how do you have a single view of what that customer's experience is? And so we're exploring this concept of the role of somebody in an experience integrator, role to really ensure that the customer is being looked after in those complex ecosystem environments. That topic has, there's definitely a core group of people that find that very interesting, and they're going to work a lot more on that on the second half of the year. Okay. And the last area for customer experience management is business process. So we have defined quite a few new areas to put into the ETOM, or business process framework, around CEM, but there's a lot of work to do still in that area. So if there's anybody who's interested in processes, this is an area where you could do little bits and pieces of work kind of on your own, come to a meeting once in a while. It's an easy way to make a big impact in TM Forum, because what you do gets put into the ETOM, and the ETOM is our very most downloaded best practice or standard that we have in TM Forum. Okay, and as I said, we've got lots of new areas coming. We've done a couple of these now, but we've got many more coming to continue to build out the customer experience management areas in the ETOM. Okay, I'm going to take a breath before we go on to analytics and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, no questions. Great. Is this okay? I know I'm going really fast, but I want to make sure that you get the high-level view of all of the things we have going on, and then you can always come back to us with questions or asking for more detail, okay? Okay, data analytics. So I'm going to start again with process, actually, since I just finished talking about process and customer experience, and then I'll show you the rest of the best practices that we have. So same with customer experience, we've been building out the processes in the ETOM around big data analytics, and we're looking at it two ways. We're looking at it bottom up, where we look at the detailed processes in the ETOM and look at how those processes need to have analytics added to them. So this is just one example. There's a build customer insight process. There was nothing about doing any analytics related to building customer insight, so we've added that capability. And then if you look at the top down, we have a model in our data analytics guidebook around, we call it a reference model for data analytics. Well, in there's a lot of processes that need to happen. And so we've pulled out the processes from that model and turned them into ETOM processes. So that's a top-down view. So again, if you're a process person and you like processes and you like analytics, this is a great way to make a big contribution very rapidly into TM Forum and really become a known thought leader in our best practice, in our collaboration community. So now, jumping on to a view of our best practices in the data analytics area. I mentioned that reference model already. We've got a library of use cases as well, like the data analytics, like the customer experience ones. We've got a number of data analytics use cases. We've got a guidebook on external data monetization. So, service providers are sitting on a gold mine of data. How do you monetize that? We've got a library of what are called building blocks for taking reusable pieces of analytics and putting them together like Lego bricks to build solutions. We've got a maturity model in this area also for looking at your data analytics maturity. And then we've got a concept called an analytics big data repository for optimizing how you store, not from a technical perspective, but how you define your data that you then store so that it can be done in a consistent fashion and not duplicated in many places. So we are working on basically all of these areas right now. The monetization one we have just been working on as a demo project, but I believe that will start back up given that we've now done the demo project. But we are working on all these areas and we actually very much need participation in this program area. So, the bottom line, or the summary is that on processes, we are working on, actually this slide's in the wrong place. This should have been with the process slide. So I think I've said everything on that slide already. So I will skip that. What we're really focusing on is how. I think at this point, folks in the industry know that data analytics is something that they need to be doing and need to be figuring out what to do, what the priorities are for that in their company. And then they say, okay, I know what my priorities are, but how do I do it? And that's what we're really working on. So things like assessing the maturity model and identifying the business challenges and the high-value use cases, and then putting together solutions with building blocks, selecting your repository approach. Those are all pieces in that how puzzle, and that's what we're really focusing on. So maturity model, we've got quite a detailed view of this, and what we're working on right now is getting even to and more the next level of detail on this view of the maturity model, and really creating almost assessment points to identify where your gaps are and where your strengths are in your data analytics program. So very interesting area that has got some traction right now for sure. The use cases, so I know this is small writing, but it gives you an idea of all of the different use cases that we've got. We are going to be really pushing into these more future areas that I was mentioning at the beginning of the call with our use case library, working with the projects that are working on NFV and virtualization, working with the SmartX project, Smart City that we have in TM Forum, in particular to develop use cases of how analytics will address solutions in those particular areas. So if you're interested in analytics, or let's say you're interested in NFV or one of your company's new ecosystem or SmartX projects, we'd love to have your input on the analytics side of those projects. And again, let me go back to that slide for a minute. This is a great example of the common language concept. We have been told that there are service providers in the industry that are using this list of use cases in their RFPs to go out and say to their suppliers, tell me which of these things you can do. And so this way, nobody has to create any new way to talk about things. Everybody's working from the same language. Okay, so what's next? I think I mentioned all of this. We always work on use cases. We've always got new use cases coming in. We really want to work on this building blocks concept where we are continuing to build up that library and really building up this methodology of having reusable pieces of analytics that can then be form the foundation of many different kinds of solutions. We may have a catalyst project forming on that, so if anybody is interested in that, I would love to hear from you. The business value roadmap that I was just showing you, reflecting the how concepts, we will continue to work on that. And the maturity model, creating a tool to gather inputs and calculating maturity. And then, as I said, the underlying theme of all of this will be much more looking to the future, right? Looking to the ecosystem environment, the more complex type of services with partners, and the virtualization area, IoT, all of these new areas are what we will be really focusing on in the data analytics program. Okay, then data monetization. I mentioned this. We have an introductory guide on this that's got a reference model, and it's got some use cases, and it's got some best practices in there. And we have now had a demo project that happened in this area, so I'd like to restart this project. We'll definitely need some volunteers to restart this. We are looking for a leader. We've got an open slot in this area. So if this is something you're interested in, there's lots of opportunity to get involved here. It's a great document if you're just starting to think about this. I suggest downloading this and taking a read through it just to kind of get your thinking, help sort out thinking across the different concepts that you need to think about for data monetization. Okay, metrics. How are we doing on time? Okay, I'm going to do this really quickly so we can get on to how you collaborate. So we have a metrics repository right now that has over 1,700 metrics definitions in it. They're all in a big spreadsheet, and you can go onto our website and download that. Some of the metrics have they are also found in other places, like I mentioned, the customer experience management metrics. Those metrics are also found in a customer experience management metrics document. Same thing with some of the security metrics we have, the cyber ops ones. They're found in another document as well that gives you lots of background and history. But we have this one repository of over 1,700 metrics that have come from many different groups in TM Forum. So, we have recently had this giant increase, and it just shows how sorry, this slide is kind of on top of each other, but it just shows how metrics have really become critical and really have gone into everybody's thought processes, that we have had so many inputs and so many suggestions for metrics from our SLA team. We had a big contribution from IBM. We're now talking with our revenue assurance team and the Omnichannel team. Anyway, metrics our virtualization team is working on metrics, so they're really everywhere in TM Forum. So this team has a very good core group of people that are working together, that reach out to all of the different groups in TM Forum and bring in ideas for metrics into the repository. This is a snapshot of that spreadsheet that I was telling you. We have all of the metrics captured and put into one place. The good news is there's basically no bad idea for a metric, because we have what's called set of maturity levels. And you see all these metrics are just in the proposed maturity level. So if you have an idea for a metric, you can bring it in, it becomes a proposed metric. Maybe it sticks and gets more and more mature. Maybe we decide it gets combined with another metric, or it's a duplicate. So you don't have to come in and say, oh, well, I need to first do a lot of homework for my metrics. No, we just really want ideas, and that's how we're building up the library. This is definitely a crowdsourced kind of concept, and we are hoping to go more online than just a spreadsheet in order to capture ideas for metrics, have a real tool where we can crowdsource it. So that's the sample. Now, what have we got coming up? We have a lot of things coming up. In our project, we have what's called internal change requests, and we just have a long list. If you go onto the metrics working page, which I'll show you how to get to all those pages if you haven't done that already, we have a long list of proposed changes, and we just work through them. SNGDA gets the team to focus and work through all of those change requests. Some of them we come up with ourselves, some of them come from outside sources, etc. And we will continue to work through that model of bringing in change requests, getting them added to the metrics library, and working on to the next one. So again, this team is asking for participation. Anybody and everybody who's thinking about metrics, you can either participate two ways. You can come and be part of the core team that has the big overview of metrics in TM Forum, or you can be a metrics contributor and bring in metrics for a particular topic and add them into the repository. Either or both is perfect. Okay, I'm going to breathe again. Okay, Vizzy, I see you have to leave. Thanks for coming. We'll get you all the materials. Okay, so why collaborate, you know, and why get involved? Well, I think we've mentioned most of these things. You know, I started out by talking about collaboration enabling companies and people to tackle the big challenges together. And when you do that, you're able to influence direction in the industry. You know, we really, TM Forum's got a pretty strong voice in many places, and our best practices do become the common language. So, you know, you really do end up having an influence, a tangible influence on the industry. A lot of our service providers in particular, and also our vendors and SIs, they really view TM Forum as a virtual R&D platform for them. So if your company has a certain challenge, you can come in and work with other people and get perspectives that you wouldn't have inside your own company. And so it's really viewed as an extension of research and development in many companies. Thought leadership, you know, we do bring together people who tend to be thinking about these things, curious minds, as I said on my earlier slide. And so you really do learn from thought leaders, but you also put yourself in a position to be seen as a thought leader. So good personal benefit, good benefit for your company. Of course, you're going to learn a lot, gaining the expertise of being both in the working projects that you're on in TM Forum, but also being part of the larger TM Forum community. And then a personal aspect is this close working relationships concept. You'll meet a number of people by participating in TM Forum that you'll really get to know, and you'll have very satisfying professional working relationships with. So we have people that have been working in TM Forum for years and years and really have formed some good bonds with people that they've met through our programs. So there's lots in this personal development area. I think I've mentioned a lot of these. But you know, what I'll encourage you to do is not only think about how collaborating would help your company, but think about how it would help you from a personal development perspective as well. You might be able to take on a leadership role that you couldn't get in your own company. You know, we're always looking for people to take on leadership roles in TM Forum. You'll just have rewarding experiences, whether it's working online with people or coming to an action week. You'll learn things. It just tends to be in general an environment that people find they get good personal development through. Okay, so how does it all work? I've mentioned a number of these things already, but let's summarize. So to actually get involved, it's clicking through some things on our website, right? That's what's on the front end of this. You register, you get clearance from your IP contact, you join the project groups you want to join, you look at the calendar to find out when the meetings are, you go to our online collaboration platform, and then you jump in, whether it's just online, whether it's coming to calls, whether it's signing up for our, excuse me, hang on one second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Whether it is coming to our in-person meetings. So the front end is just some mouse clicking. And what does that look like? Well, on our website, you want to make sure you're logged in. This is just tmforum.org. And then you want to go to the collaborative R&D menu on the website, and you'll see the project areas I've been talking about: customer experience, data analytics, and metrics. And then, oh, I'm going to skip that page. And then whichever one you click on, it's going to ask you to do some I agree on our IPR, for our IPR policy. Then behind the scenes, you'll get approved to join the project through your IPR contact in your company, and then you'll get dropped into the project. So let's say you join the Customer Experience Management project. There's a lot going on this page. I'm going to point out a few things. When you come onto this page, you'll actually be on this Contacts and Activity tab, but what you want to do is click on this Getting Started tab, and it just gives you a checklist of things to do to get started with the project team. And so you can just work through this. It's not a lot. It's reading some things. It's looking at some notifications. It's introducing yourself to the project team. And SNIG just put this together, and you've got a good list of relevant materials that you can go look at just to get caught up and get up to speed. So Getting Started tab is very important. Then the next important tab, and this is on this list, but I'll point it out separately, is there's a Calendar tab. So you can always click on that, or sorry, calendar icon. You can always click on that and see when the project meetings are. Okay, so those are important things once you get into this collaborative wiki area to take a look at. Another thing you want to look at, which is very key, is on this menu. There's lots of things on this menu, but all the good stuff is behind this work in progress menu item. So if you unroll that, you'll see our projects for the first half of 2016. You'll see this is the history from the second half of 2015, but then you also see the new areas that we're starting to work on in the second half of 2016. This is all completely a wiki. So anything you click on, you can go in, you can edit, you can add a comment, you can add an idea. Once you're in this project, there's essentially no limits. Everybody is equal in here. You don't have to get permission from a leader. You don't have to do anything. You're part of the community, and we would love to hear from you. And just showing an example, right? Let's say you click into one of these work streams. Another key thing to know is what's up here in the top right corner. There's two important buttons. Edit, that's what you would click on to edit a page and add your ideas in, and then Watch. So that's if you want to be notified what's going on in a particular area, you will select this Watch area. Now you can do that at any level. You can do that for a whole set of menu items at once. You can do it for a particular page. So you can define which things you want to watch, and you'll get emails that notify you when things have changed in that page. So that's kind of the mechanics. Let me just back up and review again really quick. You want to log in. Then you want to go to this collaborative R&D menu, pick the projects. You'll get a pop-up window to approve the IPR. Then you'll go into the project space. I'm in the customer experience one, but there's one for analytics. There's one for metrics. You'll look at the Getting Started tab. You'll look at the calendar. You can also cruise around and look at what's going on in the work in progress areas, and then click on something and decide to watch it and or edit it. Okay? And then just to quickly summarize, or just to provide this resource, this is a list of all of the calls that we've got set up right now. Some of this may be changing as we go into the second half of the year, but if you're a member of the project, you'll get notifications about that. The only reason it will change is we might consolidate, add, change, depending on what we decide to work on in Framework 16.5. So, but this for now gives you a set list, and you may join any and all. You might want to join a general call up front, just one of these general interest calls, just to get to the next level of detail on some of the things I've been talking about. Or for example, if you want to work on Omnichannel, then definitely come to the Omnichannel call. So here is the list of calls, and that is it. But as we say from this picture, we're still missing one genius, right? And that's you. So we would love to have you join us. So Snigdha, we've got a few minutes left. What did I forget?
I think you covered it all, Rebecca.
At a high rate of speed, but
yes,
but it's a way to get the big picture across.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody see anything that they thought kind of jumped out at them and was interesting and they'd like more information on?
I was particularly, Avinash here, I was particularly interested in the omnichannel area that we're speaking about. So
Okay.
I think the next step is for me to go and read things and then join and look at the calendar and keep joining the calls.
Yep.
That's right. Yep, yep.
That would be great, Avinash.
Yes, in fact, in the omnichannel area, you know, we've just in this cycle, we've defined a functional architecture for omnichannel, and very interestingly, we have actually, you know, repositioned where how the different layers need to be stacked depending on whether you are omnichannel, you know, you're building from scratch or whether you're using, you know, a lower level of legacy systems and omni-channelizing on top of it and so on. So it's really very interesting, and you know the functional requirements for each of the layers and each capability within those layers is really elaborated out nicely. So there's a lot of very good material, Avinash, there for you to
Oh,
read up on.
great, thank you.
Yep, so definitely make sure you look at the existing guidebook that we have today, but look at the work in progress because you'll see all the discussion that went on to create these models that Snigdha is mentioning. And so you won't only see the concluded, you know, the conclusion, but you'll see ideas that came in from multiple different people and companies from across the industry. It was a dynamic conversation to get that document completed.
Okay, sounds good. I'll
Okay,
surely go through.
great, perfect. Anybody else have anything in particular in mind or that caught their attention? Okay, so then I think we're complete. Please get in touch with me, get in touch with Snigdha. You know, Snigdha she's really the hands-on person and can really get you going on a project. So you'll find all of us on, hang on one second. If I just show, I was on this project area before, right here I'm on this join a project. I forget if I'm logged in, I hope I am. But you'll find us all on the front page. Here we go. You find us all on the front page, right? Here's me, here's Snigdha. So once you join the project, you'll find us very easily. And then all the leaders are here. So if you're interested in a particular comment or area or anything that you saw, you can always reach out to the leaders as well. Okay? All right. So thanks
Oh,
to, yep,
one thing, Rebecca,
yeah.
how can I get the pack that you just shared?
Oh, we're going to email that out to everybody.
Okay, great,
Okay?
thank you.
Yep, we'll email that out. Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, thank you so much for coming and look forward to getting to work with you online on calls or in person. All right, have a great day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.